man who seeks ease finds weakness. The man who confronts discomfort finds power. For every moment you spend reacting to external irritations, you are sacrificing the opportunity to build internal resilience. You are giving away your power. This is happening to you right now. You are doing this to yourself. The time for flinching is over. Now that we have stripped away the illusions of your current state, let us turn to the higher ground, to the summit of what you are capable of becoming. Your current mode of operation, being constantly bothered, easily distracted, and externally validated, is not merely a minor inconvenience. It is a profound betrayal of your potential. You were not born to be swayed by every whisper of criticism or every fleeting trend. You were born to stand firm. Look at the giants of history, not through a misty romantic haze, but with a clear, uncompromising eye. Consider the summer of 1940. France had fallen. Britain stood alone, facing the full might of the Nazi war machine, armed with a terrifying, untested air force and an utterly dominant army. The Channel was all that separated us from invasion. There were voices, many voices, powerful voices, that urged negotiation, that spoke of finding a reasonable peace with Hitler. They spoke of the futility of resistance, the inevitability of defeat. The pressure was immense, suffocating. Public opinion was fragile, terrified. The very notion of standing alone against such a monstrous force seemed suicidal to many. Yet I did not falter. I did not consult the latest opinion polls. I did not seek validation from the newspapers. I did not permit the fear or the counsel of despair to penetrate my resolve. We shall never surrender, I declared, not as a desperate plea, but as an ironclad decree forged in the deepest conviction. It was not a statement meant to comfort the populace, but to steel their nerves. It was a commitment born of an unshakable belief that even in the face of overwhelming odds, a nation, a man, can choose to act as if nothing can truly break them. This was not arrogance, it was an act of will. A declaration that their internal state would not be dictated by external terror. This is the call to greatness for you today. Do not confuse this with recklessness or foolish pride. It is about cultivating an inner fortress so robust that the slings and arrows of modern life simply glance off, leaving you unblemished and undistracted. When your boss sends a terse email, you do not immediately spiral into self-doubt. You read, you assess, you act without emotional excess. When a social media post elicits negative comments, you do not engage in a futile debate. You disengage, you move on, because your mission is greater than their fleeting opinions. The practical application begins with a simple, profound shift in your internal dialogue. When something external seeks to bother you, pause, acknowledge the sensation, but do not indulge it. Ask yourself, is this truly worthy of my energy? Does this serve my higher purpose? Most often, the answer will be a resounding no. Your energy is finite. Your time is precious. Do not squander it on the trivialities that seek to drain your spirit. Start with small acts of defiance. The next time you feel the urge to check your phone for validation, resist it. The next time a minor inconvenience irritates you, breathe and consciously choose not to react. Choose not to let it bother you. This is a mental muscle that must be trained. When the crowd retreats, you hold the line. When the world demands your emotional reaction, you grant it nothing. This is the path to becoming truly formidable. The man who cultivates inner peace finds indomitable strength. Your mind is a battlefield. Discipline is your weapon. Now let us speak plainly about the alternative. What happens if you choose to ignore this call? What becomes of the man who permits himself to be constantly bothered, forever reactive, and utterly beholden to external opinion? The answer is a life of quiet desperation, a slow, agonizing slide into a mediocrity from which there is no dignified return. This is not a hypothetical threat. It is a concrete reality that is unfolding around you and within you every single day you fail to act. Consider the grim landscape of the easily bothered man. In your career, you become the individual who avoids challenging projects for fear of failure or criticism. You hold back your best ideas in meetings, paralyzed by the thought of being contradicted. You watch others ascend the ladder, not because they are inherently more capable, but because they possess the courage to push forward, unconcerned by the inevitable friction and pushback. You become the man who complains about his job for 20 years, too fearful of the unknown to ever seek a better path, too bothered by the potential struggle to ever take a leap. In your relationships, this fragility manifests as constant friction. Petty disagreements escalate into full-blown conflicts because you cannot tolerate a differing opinion without feeling personally attacked. You seek endless validation from your partner, smothering them with your need for reassurance, transforming affection into obligation. You become a people pleaser, incapable of setting boundaries, always saying yes when you mean no, always prioritizing others' comfort over your own integrity, all because the thought of disappointing someone is simply too bothering to contemplate. Your personal life becomes a series of compromises born of fear, not choice. And what of your self-respect? It erodes with every moment you allow external forces to dictate your emotional state. You become a reactive creature, a puppet whose strings are pulled by tweets, by emails, by traffic jams, by the slightest perceived insult. You lose the quiet confidence of a man who knows his own worth, independent of validation. You develop a habit of explaining yourself, of apologizing for existing, of seeking permission to be yourself. This is the slow death of the soul. Imagine the alternative history of World War II. What if in 1940 I had listened to those who urged peace with Hitler? What if the overwhelming pressure, the fear of invasion, the counsel of appeasement had bothered me enough to surrender? Britain would have fallen. Europe would have been swallowed whole. The dark shadow of Nazism would have engulfed the world. Millions more would have perished, and the very concept of liberty would have been extinguished. The cost of not acting with an unshakable, unbothered resolve was the end of civilization as we knew it. Your challenges, while not on the scale of global war, carry their own profound consequences for your world. If you allow yourself to be bothered by trivialities, you will never lead your company, your family, or indeed yourself to true victory. You will always be a passenger, never the captain. You will always be chasing, never creating. You will always be reacting, never truly living. The choice is stark. You can continue down the path of emotional fragility, forever at the mercy of every external stimulus, living a life of diminishing returns and escalating regret. Or you can decide, here and now, that the price of mediocrity is too high, that the cost of being constantly bothered is a life unlived. This is not a future possibility, it is happening to you right now. Every day you wait, you get weaker. Your competitors are getting stronger while you seek comfort. Make a decisive break. Demand more from yourself. The quiet man controls his own storm. Comfort today means regret tomorrow. You have recognized the rot. Now, you must learn the antidote. It is not new. It is as old as resolve itself. The modern world tries to tell you that every feeling is valid that every emotion must be indulged. They call it self-care. To retreat from discomfort, to wallow in every slight. You feel a pang of jealousy seeing someone else's success on social media, and you're told to process it, to honor your feelings. This is weakness disguised as wisdom. You get a harsh review at work, and instead of taking it on the chin, you ruminate, you complain, you seek comfort from those who will echo your grievances. This indulgence in immediate emotional reaction is precisely what keeps you tethered to mediocrity. You allow the fleeting sting of a minor setback to define your entire day, preventing you from focusing on the substantial work that truly matters. They often speak of my bulldog tenacity, but few understand its origin. It was not mere stubbornness, it was a deliberate, cultivated method of thought and action. Consider my approach to the seemingly impossible task of unifying a nation and its allies against a tyrannical foe. From the outset, I refused to allow the monumental nature of the challenge to paralyze me. When France collapsed and America was still neutral, the pressure for a negotiated peace was immense. Yet I held to the principle that a great purpose demands an unshakable will, regardless of the immediate, overwhelming odds. I did not dwell on the despair. I focused on the next, immediate action. I did not waste a moment lamenting what was lost. I planned what must be done. My method was simply acknowledge the facts, however grim, then immediately pivot to action. No wallowing, no self-pity, no endless analysis of the unchangeable past. Just a relentless drive forward. This is the ancient principle, the deliberate cultivation of an unbothered mind. It starts by recognizing that while you cannot control the external world, you absolutely control your internal response. This is not about suppressing emotion, it is about redirecting energy. When a slight occurs or a challenge arises, you will feel something: irritation, anger, fear. Acknowledge it briefly. Then, immediately, consciously redirect that energy. Instead of letting anger fester, channel it into determined effort. Instead of letting fear paralyze you, let it sharpen your focus on preparation. Here's your immediate task: employ the fact versus feeling distinction. When something bothers you, pause. Ask yourself, is this a fact or is this a feeling? If your boss gives you a direct, critical instruction, that is a fact. Your feeling of being attacked is just that, a feeling. The fact requires action. The feeling requires discipline. Do not conflate the two. Act on the facts. Command your feelings. Your second immediate task is to practice the next right step method. When faced with an overwhelming problem or a situation designed to bother you, resist the urge to panic or to try and solve everything at once. Instead, identify the single, smallest, most immediate action you can take to move forward. If your inbox is overflowing and you feel overwhelmed, do not stare at it in paralysis. Pick one email, open it, respond, then pick the next. This methodical, unbothered approach breaks down the colossal into the manageable. It denies chaos the victory of paralysis. If you fail to adopt these ancient principles, you remain a slave to circumstance. You will continue to be a man whose mood is dictated by the news cycle, whose productivity is derailed by a poorly worded email, whose relationships are strained by an inability to absorb a minor disagreement. You will live a life of constant emotional reaction, forever bouncing from one external stimulus to the next, never truly steering your own ship. You will squander your precious mental capital on triviality. But if you embrace this, if you begin to actively distinguish fact from feeling, if you master the power of the next right step, you will begin to reclaim your inner citadel. You will find clarity where others find confusion. You will act decisively where others hesitate. You will become a man who commands his own emotional landscape, rendering himself unbothered by the storms that capsize lesser men. This is the foundation of true power. Your response defines you. Take back your power one disciplined thought at a time. The man who chooses his reaction chooses his destiny. The true test of steel is not in its forging, but in the fire of its use. You can understand the principles. But understanding alone is a fragile shield. You have the knowledge. You've heard the advice. Yet the moment the actual pressure hits, the moment the boss tears apart your proposal, or your project fails publicly, or a loved one unjustly criticizes you, your carefully constructed resolve crumbles. You feel the immediate surge of defensiveness, the urge to retaliate, to lash out, or to simply retreat into self-pity. You replay the scene endlessly in your mind, dissecting every word, every gesture, allowing the perceived slight to dominate your thoughts for hours, even days. This internal rumination, this allowing of external events to control your inner narrative, is the very crucible in which weakness is forged. You give away your power by replaying the defeat rather than moving toward the next victory. You allow one bad moment to dictate your entire outlook, preventing you from learning, from adapting, from pushing forward. The entire war was a relentless crucible. There were moments of staggering setback, moments when defeat seemed not just possible but probable. The fall of France, the Dunkirk evacuation, the relentless bombing during the Blitz, the dark days in the desert against Rommel's forces, the early failures of the U boat campaign, each of these was a punch to the gut. A moment when a lesser man would have buckled under the weight of such catastrophic news. I received daily reports filled with grim statistics, with news of ships sunk, cities burning, and lives lost. My method was not to ignore the grim reality, but to metabolize it, to process the information, without allowing it to infect my will. I understood that panic was contagious, and that fear was the most potent weapon of the enemy. Instead of despairing, I used these moments of adversity as fuel. Every setback became a prompt for a new strategy, a new demand for effort, a new search for opportunity. When London was under nightly assault, I walked through the bombed, out streets not to show weakness, but to demonstrate an unshakable presence, a resolve that simply would not be bothered by the enemy's worst efforts to terrorize. I acknowledged the pain, then immediately asked, what is the next action we must take to overcome this? My response was always forward, always defiant. This is where you forge your mental resilience. You must cultivate specific frameworks for handling the inevitable shocks of life. First, implement the observer mindset. When you are hit with a blow, a harsh word, a failure, an unfair situation, resist the immediate urge to react emotionally. Instead, step back mentally. Imagine yourself as an impartial observer watching the situation unfold. This creates a crucial mental space between the stimulus and your response. Ask yourself, what is objectively happening here? What is the actual impact of this, stripped of my immediate emotional reaction? This allows you to detach from the sting and assess the facts as we discuss. Not agonize. Second, adopt the short account principle. This is about disciplined self-talk. When something bothers you, you are tempted to replay it, to vent, to seek sympathy, to indulge in a long, drawn-out narrative of your victimhood. Stop this immediately. Give the event a short account. Acknowledge it briefly. My project failed. I made a mistake. Then Without elaboration, without emotional embroidery, pivot. Ask, what is the lesson here? What can I do differently next time? What is the next positive action? Do not allow yourself to dwell. Do not write a novel about your misfortune. Keep it to a sentence, then move your mind to action. This is the mental discipline that starves self-pity and feeds progress. Your mind is a battlefield. Choose your weapons wisely. Third, practice. The intentional pause. Before you react to anything that seeks to bother you, an inflammatory email, a cutting remark, a moment of perceived disrespect, pause. Take a deep breath, count to 5. This microscopic gap is your opportunity to choose your response rather than simply reacting. It's the space where you decide, will I be bothered or will I be unbothered? Will I respond with emotional fire or with strategic ice? This single pause can transform you from a reactive target to a deliberate operator. Without these mental frameworks, you will remain perpetually vulnerable. Every negative comment will chip away at your confidence. Every setback will send you spiraling. Your ability to recover, to adapt, to lead, will be severely compromised. You will be defined by your reactions, not by your actions. You will be a ship without a rudder, tossed by every wave. But with these practices, you become impervious. You will still feel, for you are human, but your feelings will no longer control you. You will become the man who absorbs the blows, learns the lessons, and emerges stronger, unbothered by the superficial wounds, focused solely on the objective. You will develop a mental fortitude that allows you to operate under pressure, to make clear decisions amidst chaos, and to maintain your equanimity when others lose theirs. This is not about being emotionless. It is about being strategically powerful. Your emotional state is your most valuable asset. Guard it fiercely. The calm mind conquers all. Indifference to noise is the first step to command. Understanding and even resilience in the moment are insufficient. True unbothered power is forged in the relentless, unglamorous grind of daily discipline. You know you should be disciplined. You know you shouldn't let things bother you. But the moment-to-moment choices derail you. You wake up intending to focus, but the first notification pulls you into the social media vortex, instantly poisoning your mindset with comparison or manufactured outrage. You promise yourself you'll hit the gym, but the slight discomfort of getting out of bed or the perceived judgment of others keeps you glued to the mattress. You vow to tackle that difficult project, but the perceived difficulty or the fear of making a mistake triggers procrastination, leading to a scramble later and more stress. You are constantly waiting for inspiration, for the right mood, instead of imposing structure upon yourself. This daily surrender to ease, this constant caving to the path of least resistance, builds a habit of fragility. You become a man who is easily bothered because you have not trained your will. My life was a symphony of relentless daily discipline, even amidst the chaos of war. From my early morning routine, waking, reading dispatches, dictating letters from bed, to my precise schedule of meals, naps, and cabinet meetings, every hour was accounted for, every moment purpose. I did not wait for inspiration to strike to read intelligence reports. I read them as a matter of course. I did not allow the exhaustion of sleepless nights during the blitz to deter my command. I found rest when I could, then returned to the fight. I maintained a rigorous writing schedule, even in the most tumultuous times, understanding that clarity of thought and communication were vital weapons. They called me tireless, but it was not supernatural energy. It was a ruthless adherence to a chosen routine. My ritual of reading, writing, and strategic thinking, often with a cigar and a whiskey, was not indulgence. It was the mechanism by which I processed information, formulated policy, and maintained a state of readiness. I learned to insulate myself from the day's trivial clamor by immersing myself in the work that mattered. The world could scream, but I had my task and my focus was unwavering. This was the warrior's discipline, to impose order on chaos, to follow a chosen path regardless of external noise. This is where you implement the daily practices that solidify your unbothered state. You are not building muscles for a single fight. You are building an invincible fortress for a lifetime. First, institute the unbothered morning ritual. Your morning is the most critical battleground for your day. Do not allow it to be captured by external forces. For the first hour after waking, impose a strict embargo on digital notifications, news, and social media. Instead, dedicate this time to activities that fortify your mind: reading, planning your day, exercise, or quiet contemplation. This creates an internal locus of control before the world has a chance to invade. You start the day on your terms, not theirs. This is your mental warm-up, a declaration of intent. Do this before you look at the screen. Second, practice the deliberate disconnection. Throughout your day, consciously schedule periods where you completely disconnect from external inputs that might bother you. This could be 30 minutes of focused work without email notifications, an hour of deep work where your phone is on airplane mode, or simply a walk without earbuds. These small acts of defiance against constant connectivity train your mind to be self-sufficient, to find peace in its own company, and to resist the Pavlovian urge to check, to react, to be bothered. Your attention is your currency. Spend it wisely. Third, a constructive confrontation. When something does bother you, instead of internalizing it or complaining about it, take immediate, constructive action. If a colleague's passive, aggressive email irks you, rather than letting it fester, draft a polite, direct response that addresses the issue without emotional charge. If a minor inconvenience derails your plan, instead of spiraling, immediately pivot to a contingency. This is about converting negative energy into productive output. It's not about being emotionless, but about being action-oriented. Channel your irritation into resolution. Without this daily discipline, your pursuit of an unbothered life will remain a mere aspiration, a wish that evaporates at the first sign of pressure. You will continue to be buffeted by trivialities, your potential never fully realized, because your internal state is too volatile. You will be a man of good intentions, but weak execution, forever seeking a quiet life, but finding only the noise you permit. But with these daily practices, you will transform. You will become a man whose internal compass is unshakable, whose focus is laser sharp, whose actions are deliberate. You will find that the constant stream of minor irritations that once bothered you begin to simply pass you by, leaving you undisturbed. You will build a momentum of calm competence. Your self-respect will soar, for you will be living according to your highest values, not according to the whims of the world. This is not about becoming a robot. It is about becoming sovereign. Master your minutes. Master your life. The unbothered man is a force of nature. Build your fortress brick by disciplined brick. The path we have traversed has led you from the quagmire of reactivity to the firm ground of internal control. But control in isolation is not enough. The ultimate manifestation of an unbothered mind is not just inner peace, but outward power assilent. Unshakable dominance that commands respect without a single word of explanation or a single moment of flinching. This is the mark of a true leader, a man who acts as if nothing can truly bother him. Look at the modern man, perpetually eager to prove himself. He feels a need to explain every decision, to justify every action, to loudly refute every minor criticism. Someone questions his choice, and he launches into an exhaustive, defensive monologue. A peer achieves a success, and he feels compelled to highlight his own accomplishments, perhaps subtly diminishing the others. He takes to social media not to share insights, but to boast, to argue, to demand recognition, constantly seeking to affirm his status in a world that frankly is not listening. He believes that by being louder, by being more visible, by constantly reacting, he is asserting himself. In truth, he is only broadcasting his insecurity. Every desperate explanation, every forced boast, every public flinch reveals his inner fragility. He is bothered, and he cannot hide it. During the darkest hours of the war, when the bombs rained down on London, when the casualties mounted, when the pressure from within and without was immense, I was not always speaking. There were moments in the cabinet war rooms, in meetings with my generals, in the silence of my study, when words were insufficient, or indeed counterproductive. When others panicked, when despair threatened to overwhelm, my presence, my quiet determination, my unwavering gaze, became the most powerful statement of all. I did not need to shout. I did not need to explain myself to every detractor or every doubter. My actions spoke. My resolve was felt. The decision to fight on, alone, against impossible odds, was not debated with every journalist or every fearful citizen. It was declared, and then it was acted upon, relentlessly. My refusal to be drawn into endless arguments, my singular focus on the enemy, communicated a silent, indomitable strength. Their noise was irrelevant to our purpose. This is the essence of silent dominance. To operate with such clarity of purpose and such unshakable conviction that the world's clamor becomes nothing more than background noise. You do not explain, you do not justify. You do not react to provocations. You simply act. Your actions become your explanation. Your results become your justification. Here is how you cultivate this unassailable presence. First, adopt the unmoved mountain framework. Picture yourself as a towering peak. Storms may rage around you, winds may howl. Lesser men may flee, but the mountain remains. It does not argue with the wind. It does not flinch from the lightning. It simply endures, immutable, silent, powerful. When a colleague tries to provoke you, when a social media comment attempts to bait you, when an unexpected setback threatens plans, do not engage. Do not respond. Do not react. Simply remain. Let their noise crash against you and watch it dissipate. Your silence is your strength. Your stillness is your power. The man who is unbothered cannot be manipulated. Second practice, strategic silence. This is not about being mute. It is about choosing when and where to deploy your words with maximum impact. When confronted with a minor insult, a baseless accusation, or an attempt to draw you into a petty squabble, your response is silence, a knowing glance, a brief nod, an utterly neutral expression. This refusal to engage denies the provocateur the oxygen of your reaction. It communicates that their words are beneath your notice, that their attempts to rattle you are futile. You save your words for the decisions that matter, for the commands that must be given, for the strategies that must be articulated. Do not waste your breath on the trivial. Your silence is louder than their shouts. Third, live by decisive action over defensive explanation. When faced with criticism or challenge, your immediate instinct might be to defend yourself, to explain your reasoning, to prove your worth. Stop this. Instead, channel that energy into immediate, decisive action. If your project is criticized, do not argue, simply improve it. If your character is questioned, do not explain. Let your future actions demonstrate your integrity. When others are busy talking, you are busy doing. When they are busy explaining, you are busy achieving. This is the ultimate proof of an unbothered mind. The capacity to turn every challenge into an opportunity for demonstrating competence, rather than engaging in a futile war of words. Your results speak, your critics fall silent. Without this cultivation of silent dominance, you will remain perpetually entangled in the world's endless drama. You will be seen as reactive, as thin-skinned, as easily manipulated. Your authority will be constantly undermined by your need to prove it. You will be a man of words, but not of true power, always needing to justify, always needing to explain, always needing to flinch. Your life will be a constant, exhausting battle of egos rather than a focused pursuit of purpose. But when you embody this silent dominance, your presence will shift. People will sense your unshakable core. They will understand that you are not easily swayed, that your decisions are born of conviction, not external pressure. Your words, when you choose to speak them, will carry immense weight because they are not wasted on trivialities. You will command respect, not by demanding it, but by radiating an aura of calm, unbothered strength. You will be seen as a man who cannot be shaken, a man who acts from a place of deep, internal authority. This is the mark of a formidable individual. Your presence is your statement, laid by your actions, not by your reactions. The unbothered man is always in command. You have begun the journey. You have recognized the weakness, answered the call, absorbed the principles, endured the crucible, and embraced the warrior's discipline. You have even started to manifest a silent dominance. But what is this all for? What is the culmination of a life lived unbothered by the trivial, unmoved by the fleeting? It is the forging of a legacy, a life so purposefully lived, so powerfully actualized, that its impact reverberates long after you are gone. This is the ultimate reward, the true purpose of becoming truly unbothered. Consider the common man's lament at the twilight of his years. I wish I had. He wishes he had pursued his dreams, but the fear of failure bothered him too much. He wishes he had spoken his mind, but the fear of judgment silenced him. He wishes he had taken the difficult path, but the comfort zone held him prisoner. He looks back at a life defined not by his choices, but by his reactions to external pressures. He sees missed opportunities, unfulfilled potential, and a lingering regret for the man he could have been. If only he hadn't allowed every minor inconvenience, every critical whisper, every fleeting trend to dictate his course. He realizes, too late, that he was the captain of his ship, but he spent his life fixing the sails, based on every gust of wind from others, instead of charting his own course. His legacy is one of quiet compliance, not powerful creation. My life, for all its imperfections and all its struggles, was built on an unshakable resolve to pursue what I believed was right, regardless of immediate popularity or the counsel of despair. When I spoke of an iron curtain descending across Europe, I was met with skepticism, even hostility. When I warned of the gathering storm in the 1930s, I was largely ignored, even ridiculed. But I did not allow their disdain, their short-sightedness, or their comfortable illusions to bother me, to deter me from speaking the truth as I saw it. My legacy is not just the victory in 1945, but the unwavering commitment to principles, the relentless fight against tyranny, and the refusal to be swayed from the path of duty by public opinion or personal comfort. It was a life lived with the profound understanding that if you want to change the world, you must first refuse to be changed by it. My unbothered resolve sculpted my history and, in turn, shaped the history of nations. Your life, too, can become a testament to this power. The transformation you are undergoing is not merely for your personal comfort. It is for your profound impact. When you choose to be unbothered, you free up immense mental and emotional capital. This capital, once squandered on trivialities, can now be invested in building something lasting, something meaningful, something that outlives you. You will become a man who is remembered not for his reactions, but for his achievements. Here's how to shape that legacy. Starting today, first, the architect's vision. The man who is easily bothered lives moment to moment, reacting to whatever comes next. The man who is unbothered operates with a grand, long-term vision. Spend time regularly in quiet contemplation, away from all distractions, to define the legacy you wish to leave. What is the ultimate impact you want to have in your career, your family, your community, your life? Write it down. Be specific. This vision becomes your unwavering North Star, the anchor that keeps you steady when the winds of triviality try to pull you off course. Every time something seeks to bother you, ask, does this serve my architect's vision? Or is it a distraction? This clarity immediately dismisses the noise. Your purpose is your shield. Second, begin writing. The unwritten chapter. Your life is a book, and the pages ahead are blank. You have the pen. Will you fill them with the drama of being easily bothered, with stories of complaint and reaction? Or will you write a saga of strength, resilience, and unshakable purpose? Understand that every decision to remain unbothered, every choice to act with deliberate intention instead of reactive emotion, is a stroke of genius on the canvas of your life. It is you seizing control of your narrative. Start today, writing the kind of chapters you will be proud to look back on. This means choosing purpose over popularity, action over anxiety, and conviction over convenience. Your legacy is built daily. Third, commit to continuous fortification. Becoming unbothered is not a destination. It is a way of being, an ongoing practice. The world will never stop throwing provocations at you. The storm will never cease entirely. Therefore, your commitment to the principles of silent dominance and internal resilience must be relentless. This means maintaining your daily disciplines, the unbothered morning ritual, the deliberate disconnections, the constructive confrontations. It means continually sharpening your mental frameworks, the fact VS. Feeling distinction, the observer mindset, the short account, the intentional pause. It means constantly asking yourself, am I reacting or am I choosing? This unwavering vigilance ensures that your fortress of strength is not only built but continually reinforced, making you truly impenetrable. The strong man never stops training. If you neglect this final stage, if you become complacent, you risk backsliding into the old patterns of reactivity and regret. You will be a man who once glimpsed true power, but failed to fully embody it, leaving a legacy of almost a life that could have been more. The world is too complex, too demanding for a half-hearted commitment to strength. But if you embrace this full transformation, if you commit to living a life of unbothered purpose, you will not only transform yourself, but inspire those around you. You will become the steady hand in the storm, the voice of reason amidst the clamor, the unflappable leader in times of crisis. Your presence will be a beacon of strength. Your actions a testament to integrity. Your life a living embodiment of true power. This is the ultimate victory over the trivial, the ultimate declaration of sovereignty over your own existence. This is the legacy of the unbothered. Man, a life lived on your terms, a future shaped by your will, and an impact that echoes through time. The time for flinching is over. Your legacy begins now. Act. Now, the unbothered man writes his own history.